Hello guys, and welcome to Supreme Ruler Ultimate. Today I'm going to talk to you about the wonderful world of espionage. Just about everything in Supreme Ruler is a complicated thing once you start digging into how it all works beyond the face value descriptions you get, and espionage is no different, so I'm going to do my best to explain all of this to you in the simplest way possible. Let's start with the basics though. So, where does espionage begin? In my opinion, everything espionage related in this game starts right here in the State tab. So if you're playing along, you will definitely want to go to your State tab. We go down here to the facility controls where you construct buildings and whatnot. This is where your espionage endeavors start. There are two basic types of buildings that deal with espionage and spies and intelligence. The first one that you'll really be likely to have is the Security Bureau. The Security Bureau is a building that provides a passive benefit, generally to your counterintelligence capability of your country. As you see, it's much faster to build than the other option, and it's definitely notably cheaper. This is because it doesn't provide all of the same benefits. The Intelligence Academy, which as you see is more expensive and takes much longer to build, provides spies, and spies are capable of being given specific missions separate to just running counterintelligence. If you have no intention on using spies offensively in any way, then really all you need are security bureaus. If you do want to use offensive missions, then you'll want some intelligence academies. Each one of these grants you 50 spies, and every mission you can send them on requires a different amount of spies. If you go to your cabinet section of the State Department, you'll see there's even an espionage slider for here. And as a reminder, everything in this game is more complicated than it seems, but in the simplest explanation, the espionage slider does what every other slider in the game does. It scales based on the amount of money you spend on it, the efficiency of all of your activities within that category. So in this case, your counterintelligence would be better as espionage slider goes up. As it goes down, they'd be worse. Same thing with your offensive missions. Now, when it comes to actually doing espionage missions, it's also here in the State tab. Everything conveniently in one area. As you see, we have our total amount of spies, the number that's currently available versus the number that is available if none of them were assigned to anything. When spies are not assigned to tasks, they just kind of sit where they are originally placed, where you build your intelligence academies on the map, and where you build them, they just act in a counterintelligence manner, countering enemy spies in a similar way as to how a security bureau would do it, albeit generally for more money. When you assign spies to a mission, you can see 3 right here that have recon missions. They'll appear here as well under your current missions list with a different logo that you even get a tooltip for, showing you what mission they're on. The missions themselves can be accessed by pressing this button right here, asking you to select a map location. There are 3 missions you can pick from in Supreme Ruler Ultimate. If you hover over each individual mission, you will get a tooltip showing you more information on how this mission will go. A recon mission costs 3 spies, 27 million, and will take 45 days. So what this means is, you take this mission, you click it, and if I go assign it somewhere, for example, the middle of France, then after a little bit, 3 spies will be drained from this total amount. They will proceed over to where I clicked, and I can actually unpause real quick, and we can show you them appearing. As you see, the 3 spies are gone, and they have appeared over here. This is how it works for every mission. This is how it works, and the biggest variable is the cost and what each mission accomplishes. Recon is kind of like a hand-placed spy satellite function or line of sight granting function. It is pretty cheap if you compare it to everything else. It is notably cheaper than any other mission by a factor of several dozen. Recon doesn't have any other goal other than granting you line of sight in a general area around where you place a spy. So basically 45 days in game for the very low cost of whatever it says, and holding those 3 spies, and you will get line of sight in that area for 45 days, and then your spy will return home. The mission may end prematurely because just as you can run counterintelligence, so can other countries. They can catch your spies, and catching spies in this game is a way to get war justification towards a country. So be careful if you start spamming recon spies everywhere, with a poorly funded intelligence program. If we take a look down from Recon, we'll see the next one is Espionage. This is the most expensive type of mission you can send your spies on. It takes 5 spies instead of 3, costs 675 million right now in this instance, as this country, in this era, and takes the same amount of time. Espionage has a limited function. As you see, it's already red. It's saying that I can't place it in most places because it has a very specific ability. It must be placed on some sort of complex because its 2 main functions are, if you place it at a research facility, for example, then your spy will try to steal technologies that you don't own from the country you are trying to steal from. If you go to military production facilities instead, then you will actually try to steal the unit designs from the other countries that they have and are producing. Unlike Recon, this is a mission that can have a success or a failure even at the end of the mission rather than just a time limit. So at the end of 45 days, if your spy doesn't get captured, you'll get a report on whether or not he succeeded and what the consequences of that might be. So for example, if you don't succeed, there is 1 or 2 ways that could go. The other country might know you did it. They might not have any clue that your spy was there to begin with, and the consequences vary accordingly. However, if you succeed, you'll get kind of the same half and half. They may not have known that you got away with whatever you stole, but they also might, and the consequences will vary accordingly. If you go around and you try clicking randomly, of course it won't let you do it. It's pretty good about locking you in to make sure you only place espionage spies in places that have a function. Same thing with Sabotage. Recon is a bit different. Recon is a bit exploitable in Supreme Ruler Ultimate. You can actually place these in the ocean. Now, because a spy is a unit, a land unit, it can't survive on the ocean. The game understands it's not supposed to be there and it deletes it very quickly. However, you still do get a brief glance at what was there when you do this. So for example, if I just place a bunch of spies right here and then we speed things up, we will see I was on max speed, but we will see that briefly the spies were there. And while they're there for that brief moment, they can see anything under them. You can use this especially to detect enemy movements and things that you otherwise wouldn't be able to see in the ocean that could alert you to something pretty big about to happen in a PvP, or maybe even just general movements of AI. Due to the radius of this as well, you could place it offshore of an enemy country, get a quick peek at what's guarding all the facilities here, for example, and then keep that information locked away in your noggin while there's 0 chance of your spy getting detected because he was instantly sent back home after he disappeared. So for example, let's find someone I can't see. So if I place some spies here, just for example, but we put this at a different speed here. We want to be able to like not be on fastest and like see what happens. You see, all right, there you go. They popped in, they're gone. They're already gone, meaning they're undetectable. Even if I hold this down, we can very clearly see these French units here. We can see the report on everything that is here, from supply to exactly what unit types are here. I can investigate them, see it, and I have a line of sight ring here. And this is how it works. You can peek using this trick, and your enemies will be none the wiser. Now, just note this is technically an exploit, which I pointed out to the devs, and for 2030, they have fixed this and made this impossible. However, I don't believe they plan on coming back to SRU for anything, so this should theoretically work indefinitely if you wanted to use it in your playthroughs. Finally, we have this Sabotage one. Now, this is almost as expensive as Espionage. You see, 540 mil at current prices in the current era to start one of these missions up. 6 spies, 45-day timer, all the same. So it takes the most amount of spies, second most amount of money, same 45-day thing. Now, this is similar where it can only really be placed in places where there are facilities. That is because the goal of Sabotage is to inflict damage onto enemy facilities without needing to use military forces to do it. You're essentially spending money to try to cause a repair cost for the opposing person. This one's not that complicated. It's not really that in depth. I don't have too much to explain, and there's no real exploity ways to use it. In my opinion, this is by far the least valuable of the 3. Recon in its current state, despite being cheap as hell, is the best one in my opinion, just due to the exploit that I have just shown you. Espionage can be very, very handy if you don't want to acquire technology or designs through normal means, or diplomatic means, this is another way to go ahead and do that, but it is risky because countries with high tech that you might actually want are very likely to have good counterintelligence programs. Sabotage, however, just causes a little bit of damage that most AI players will fix immediately and players probably won't care about, because damage to a facility doesn't mean much in SRU, except for the fact that it will cost money if you want to repair it. It doesn't stop the facility from functioning, it doesn't really affect its efficiency or anything, it's more just a nuisance, and as you can see here, it can be a pretty expensive nuisance. It's not going to destroy the facility. In fact, you'd have to bombard a hex repeatedly, usually between multiple players, if you wanted to actually destroy a facility through these means. And it would definitely not be worth it in terms of the money you're spending when you could be doing something else to harm your opponents in the meantime. For example, to actually hurt or cripple an oil industry of a country with this method, you might be looking at spending, with these prices, hundreds of billions. Well, why do something so temporary that drives you bankrupt when you could instead just build your own oil production facilities and directly compete with them, making a profit, or at least not losing as much money, even while accomplishing the same goal? At least that's my thought. If you don't want to automate things like this, there are other ways to go about it. For one, you'll want to go into your cabinet section and go into your custom priorities. And as you can see, there are some priorities such as intelligence, target espionage opportunities, initiate low-risk missions, assign needed counter intel, and things like that. You can essentially hand off the ability to control spies to your minister so that you don't have to do it. While you're on the espionage screen, as I've been showing you, you can even click on other countries while you have to pull the menu back up, and you can assign individual priorities at which you want your AI to focus on assigning espionage missions to a specific country. And you can even specify what kind of missions you want your AI to focus on assigning. You can also take this a step further, and for example, if we go into the theaters here, let's say I really wanted to fuck with the Middle East, and so I went into theater control here, and I could assign an espionage priority to every single country in this theater all at once. Really, compared to most things in this game, it is a simple feature. It can get some very specific tasks done, and it is something that I feel every SRU player should have under their belt as a usable tool, especially if you plan on getting into any multiplayer games, as just those recon spies alone are a real game changer. If you have any other questions on how any of this works, or you wish to see any more guides, please let me know in the comments below what you would like to see. Make sure to check the playlist in the description or in the cards at the top right, because I may have already covered your desired topic in a video already. I'm trying to be as comprehensive as possible with my SRU guides. That is going to be it for today though, so hopefully this video was helpful to you. Thank you guys very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.